Let's work on 3 different ways to color your cards today. We're going to focus on alcohol markers and dye inks. So we're going to be working with this Rubbermaid stamp today. This is a beauty of a stamp called Always on My Mind, and it's filled with several flowers and some very pretty sentiments that coordinate with the flowers. Now we're going to be coloring these with Copic markers today, and these are some smaller flowers, but you can see that they'll fill up an A2 size card pretty well. So this is one item we're going to use. We're also going to be using the Leaves and Greenery Die. This die is a really pretty die that makes these delicate little leaves, and we're going to use another coloring technique for these leaves today using our dye inks. Isn't that pretty? Now we're also going to be using this vase. This is the tall Terracotta Pot Die. There are 3 vases. We're going to use one of them. And finally, we're going to work with this rectangle combo number 3 die set. This is an awesome die set, you guys. You're going to love this. It actually is one die plate, but you get several die cuts out of this one die plate. So I'll show you a trick to getting maximum use out of that. And then we're also going to be working with the Color Fuse inks as well as our alcohol markers, whatever ones you have on hand. Let's get them out and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is take 3 of the leaves that have stems on them, and I'm going to heat emboss those with some gold embossing powder. I'm prepping it with my embossing buddy so that I don't get embossing powder where I don't want it. And then I'm going to apply a sticky embossing pad to it and then heat set it with gold embossing powder. I chose to use embossing powder because it adds a very pretty shine to the flowers and a little bit of texture. And I wanted to have that in conjunction with my coloring. So now I'm just adding the gold embossing powder. It's kind of more of a platinum color, but I didn't have gold, so I got platinum. But it's still going to be a very, very pretty color. Now I'm going to get ready to use my Copic markers. These are my alcohol markers that I use, but there are several on the market that you can use in all kinds of price ranges. Now, what I'm doing, because these flowers are a little bit smaller, I'm only going in with 2 shades of the colors. So I'm starting with the lighter shade of pink here, and I'm going all the way around the flower, and I'm being very careful not to get the nib of my marker onto the embossed area. It can ruin your nibs if you do that. So be careful if you heat emboss a flower not to run your alcohol marker over that embossed area. So you can see I'm finishing up here with the lightest shade of pink, which is actually a pretty vibrant shade of pink. It's not really very light, but I did want something vibrant and beautiful for these flowers because I want them to be the focal point of my card. Now I'm going in with a darker color, the second shade. It's a little darker, and I'm going to hit the areas where you would find shading. So when you're looking at the flower, try to find areas where you would see shading. Even look at pictures of flowers to get an idea of where natural shading would be, and that's where you'll add your darker color. That adds a lot of depth to the flower and makes it look a little more realistic. And then I go back in with the lightest color and blend everything. Now I'm going to continue doing this with 2 other flowers while I'm coloring. Enjoy the music. So now my coloring is finished with my flowers and I've set those aside. Now I'm going to start focusing on coloring the terracotta pot and the greenery. First, I'm going to die cut them both. And once that's finished, I'm going to start showing you the second way that you can color, this time using our Color Fuse ink pads. So I'm only going to use one of the terracotta pots. I set that aside because I'm going to start by coloring the flowers, the leaves. Now I'm going in with the lightest color first, which is called melon, and I'm just touching the tips of them. Then I'm going to go in with the second darkest color and the third darkest color, as you'll see me do here. So now that is finished. Now I'm going to show you the third way that we can go in and color, which is called direct to paper with your ink pad. So I'm using the color Sierra Color Fuse ink and I'm going directly on to that cardstock with my ink pad. Now you want to be careful when you do this technique because you could ruin your ink pad if you're not careful. I think I might have damaged one of mine a little bit. So be gentle and be careful when you do this. But this direct to paper gives you the most intense ink color. The previous way that we did it gave you more of an ombre effect going from light to dark, and Copic markers give you a different way too. So all of these different colors are really fun because they each give you a different look, which is really going to help your card. So now we're going to get ready to put this together. I have die cut this using that die, number 3. I die cut this in 4 different colors, and now I am putting this together, and I am just going to be separating the colors. So this was a lot of fun. So you can see there's pink on the very left side of the screen. I had gone back behind the scenes and taken bubblegum ink and did a direct to paper on my cardstock as well so that I could have some more color in there. But you can see how lovely this is when you layer everything together. And now I'm going back in with the colored flowers, the terracotta pot, and I'm going to put everything together now, and the whole thing is going to come together in one beautiful cohesive card. So today we've worked with 3 different ways to color. You can do some very basic coloring with 2 different shades of your alcohol markers. Then you can go in and do some ombre coloring, going from lighter color to darker color um, with your dye inks. And then you can do direct to paper to get the most intense color. Now, a little bonus here is that I am stamping the inside of this card as well, using some more of the stamps that are in this beautiful stamp set. I wanted to use as much as I possibly could here. So I stamped the inside of the card, and now I'm going to put this lovely sentiment in, and then this card will be finished. Doesn't that look pretty with a little touch of blue behind it? I'm so happy you were able to join me today, and I hope that you practice your coloring skills, and all of the details will be in the description box below. Thank you.